Are you frustrated that your child talks back and argues when you're asking them to do something? In this episode, I'm going to give you a specific plan to stop this problem in its tracks and how you can use this method to build a relationship as well. Hi, I'm Holly McLean, the Mommy Answer Lady. I'm a certified parent educator, mom of 9, and author of the book and online course, How to Train Your Child to Behave. Here you will find new weekly step-by-step instructional content to help you become the most effective parent you can be. So please subscribe right now. It's certainly frustrating when you have the responsibility to raise a child, but as you try, you get a lot of flack and backtalk from them. What can you do? Here's the plan to stop that behavior. Number 1, talk it out. Of course, if you have listened to much of my content or read my book, you have seen that I am a big proponent of having a conversation with your child at a time of no conflict before enforcing any rules or consequences as much as possible. If the issue of backtalk and arguing are happening often enough that you're here looking for a solution, it is likely this conversation needs to happen. Sit down with your child and have a kind, humble, and non-combative conversation about the problem at the time of no conflict. In other words, don't do it when they just talked back to you. Do it when there is nothing going on. Number 2, bring them into your world. One way to allow your child to understand where you're coming from is to ask them questions starting with, if you were a parent and... By doing this, you are asking them to put themselves in your position and think about how they would handle the behavior that they themselves are displaying by talking back. For instance, you could say, if you were a parent and you were responsible to make sure your child, whom you love deeply, does their homework and learns a good work ethic, and when you tell them what they need to do to accomplish this good habit, they talk back to you, what would you do? Remember not to ask this in an accusatory way or with any aggression. It is a truly sincere question, and it is to allow them to think about this. Let them tell you if they have a solution and what they would do. But usually the answer would be, I don't know. That's okay. Then you can say something like, so you can see that I am in that position, and it is hard sometimes for me to figure it out too. But I know I still have the responsibility. This part of the conversation will bring your child into your world for a moment and help them see what position you are in. But it also is a great help to their social skills and learning about empathy. And it builds a relationship in the process. Number 3, lay out the plan. Tell them that because you love them, want to be a good parent for them, and need to have a plan to solve this problem, that you are not going to allow the back-talking anymore. This part is very similar to the content I made about whining that you can find on this forum. It's the same sort of plan because it's the same sort of behavior. From now on, when they start to back-talk, the conversation will be over until it can resume without that. For children who are under 8 years old, they will need to sit and cover their mouth until they are ready to speak to you and apologize for the backtalk. When they do, the conversation will resume. Why cover their mouth? If you haven't seen my other content or read my book on the subject of whining and crying and fussing, it is explained there. But basically, consequences for behavior need to relate to that behavior as much as possible. They are using their mouth to talk back. Covering it until they are ready to use it appropriately relates to the behavior. For children 8 and older, they will be required to go to a place on their own without any distractions and think about it. No computers, TV, toys, books, etc. When they're ready to talk without sassing, they can come back to you, apologize, and resume the conversation. Number 4, ask them to repeat the plan to you. This is an important point. Make sure that they are able to articulate per their age what the plan is. Ask them what is going to happen if they start to backtalk or sass you. Once they lay out the plan to you, you know they understand, and it will be much easier at the moment of conflict to put this plan into effect. Number 5, check yourself. This plan is a good one and works very well. but be sure that you are doing that eye-to-eye time twice a day where you take 5 to 10 minutes to focus completely on them individually. Turn off your phone, computer, TV, or any other distractions and allow them to talk to you about anything they want. This is not the time to talk about corrections needed unless they want to. This is time for them to tell you about their own joys, sorrows, goals, and etc. Just listen. This is also not playtime or time for a game. It is focused conversation time. This gives your child a huge advantage in life to be able to have a focused conversation on a regular basis with no distractions. I hope you do find time to play a game, do a project, teach them a new skill, and etc., but this isn't eye-to-eye time. If you are doing this, your child's behavior in general will improve, and certainly this plan to stop the backtalk or arguing will work wonders. Number 6, follow through and be consistent. Think about it. If you were a child and every time you started to backtalk or argue, your mom and dad stopped the conversation and followed through with this plan, wouldn't you be less likely to continue doing that? As with all plans to improve behavior, the more consistent you are, the better this will work. Has this content given you a direction to go in to begin to change in the backtalk and arguing issue with your children? If so, please hit that subscribe button right now and leave a comment. I'd love to read how this has worked for you. Parents, you can do this. I hope to see you back here next week.